Good evening, Mulweni, Goeienaand, Dumalang, students, parents and guardians. Welcome to the Nelson Mandela University Faculty of Law Meet and Greet. It is my privilege to address you this evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this message and other messages hereafter. I am Lynn Biggs, the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Law, and it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Faculty of Law, staff and current students to extend a hearty welcome to all of you who will be joining our faculty. To those of you who have just matriculated, I would like to congratulate you on successfully completing your high school careers during such challenging times. The last few years have placed many obstacles in the way of so many of us. Well done to you. Your tenacity, hard work and determination in your secondary education years will stand you in good stead for a successful journey at a tertiary education level. Thank you for choosing to be part of our institution, our faculty and our programs. The faculty contributes to the institution's vision of being a dynamic African university, recognized for its leadership in generating cutting-edge knowledge for a sustainable future. We are pleased to be able to say that the faculty was one of the first 3 law schools in the country that received accreditation for the LLB qualification from the Council for Higher Education after the National Review of the LLB program conducted in 2016 and 2017. Our faculty also boasts highly respected academic staff and committed support staff who combine to provide a top quality educational experience for our law students. Our staff and students are committed not only to the values of the institution, but also the values of the Constitution, such as respect for diversity, excellence, Ubuntu, and integrity. The faculty's student-centered learning and teaching strategy recognizes the development of graduate attributes as an integral part of our curricula, and we strive to ensure that all the programs we offer are nationally, regionally, and globally contextually relevant and future-focused to equip our graduates to be socially conscious, responsible global citizens who serve the global good. Thank you for choosing to be a part of our institution, our faculty and our programs. Our curricula are continuously enhanced through the increasing body of research work published by our academic staff. Our curricula are further enhanced by enabling students to engage with honorary, distinguished, emeritus, adjunct and visiting professors by means of lectures, conferences and webinars. The faculty also has developed relationships with nationally and internationally recognized judges, advocates, attorneys, and academics to collaborate with us to share the latest legal developments with our students. The faculty has a strong engagement culture and is committed to exposing our students to opportunities to participate in transformative engagements in South African society. These include the work of our Centre for Law in Action, which is internationally renowned entity that focuses on improving service delivery at various governmental levels and increasing access to justice for people in need. Our Labour and Social Security Law Unit, which is nationally recognised for the training conducted by its members, and the faculty's Law Clinic, Labour Law Advice Office, Refugee Rights Centre and mobile law clinics that provide key legal services to communities in the Eastern Cape. We also invest in providing support to our students. We appoint around 15 to 20 of our best graduates as postgraduate associates to offer peer mentorship for our undergraduates and postgraduates and assist with the facilitation of tutorials and discussion sessions during the academic year. Our students are strongly encouraged to participate in student organizations such as the Law Student Society and the Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter to enrich their student experience. The faculty has a close working relationship with the student leadership of these organisations. You will receive more information about the student societies during the orientation sessions in February. We are so looking forward to welcoming you on campus this year. We can be found on the first floor in the Embazweni building on the South Campus. The space has been beautifully refurbished over the past few years and boasts a new boardroom, reception area and working spaces. The annex wing includes a lecture venue and houses additional offices, including space for our adjunct and visiting professors and judges. We look forward to meeting you in person and to welcome you to this space conducive for learning, teaching and research. We would like to thank your parents, guardians, friends and or family members who are investing in you to be a part of our faculty. Your work as a student will not be yours alone, and many people will travel alongside you on your academic journey. Their financial and emotional support and guidance, as well as their belief in you to achieve your dreams, is greatly appreciated. As you are about to start your academic journey with the Faculty of Law at Nelson Mandela University, I would like to draw your attention to a quote from Matthias Alexander. People do not decide their future, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. I would like to encourage you to consider choosing the correct habits when starting your academic journey. Make it a habit to not put anything off. Make it a habit to grasp all opportunities from the very beginning. Make it a habit to attend all classes and participate in discussions. And make it a habit to work on your studies every day. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, open quote, keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. Close quote. I wish you everything of the best along your academic journey with the Faculty of Law. I thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lindy Kutsia, and it is my task this evening to introduce the staff members of the Faculty of Law at the Nelson Mandela University to you. Starting with the Office of the Executive Dean, the picture on the left, Dr. Lynn Biggs is the Executive Dean of Law. The picture on the right is myself, Lindy Kutsia, the Acting Deputy Dean for the Faculty of Law.
Assisting the Dean and the Deputy Dean in the Dean's office is the Secretary, Ms. Pesta Pandani.
Assisting the Dean's office with the management of the faculty is the Faculty Management Committee. Allow me to introduce them to you. And the top row, top left, is Mr. Stephen Newman. He's the Acting Head of Department in the Department of Mercantile Law. In the middle is Dr. Rosanna Denson. She is the Head of Department in Private Law. And on the right is Dr. Mark Velgemoot, who is the Head of Department for Criminal and Procedural Law. In the bottom row on the left, you have Professor Joanna Porter, who is the Head of Department of Public Law. In the middle, you have Prof. Adrian van der Walt, who is the Head of the Labour and Social Security Law Unit. And then on the right, you have Professor Henny van As, who is the Head of the Institute for Law in Action.
Here with an overview of the Faculty of Law. The Faculty of Law is divided into departments, and all academic staff are allocated to a particular department. However, you will note that academics lecture across departments and not limited to only lecturing modules within their own department. The faculty has 4 departments, namely mercantile law, criminal and procedural law, public law, and private law. In what follows is a brief overview of each department and an introduction to the academic and administrative staff members of each department. Mercantile law is also a division in law. Now, when we speak of mercantile law, we are talking about that part of the law that regulates the legal aspects and relationship of businesses. The Department of Mercantile Law presents modules such as business entities law, insolvency, business rescue and liquidation law, labor law, specific contracts, payment instruments, competition law, tax law, IT law, and consumer protection. In addition to that, the department is also responsible for delivering various service modules to other faculties, mainly the Faculty of Business and Economic Sciences. A service course, for example, would require of somebody studying a BCom to do a service course in commercial law that is then presented by the home faculty, which is the Faculty of Law. Mercantile law modules are only offered from the 3rd and 4th year of the LLB degree program.
On this slide, we start introducing the staff within the Department of Mercantile Law, starting with the professors. On the left, you have Prof. Mark Tate, who's a specialist in consumer protection. On the right, you have Prof. Adrian van Holt, who is a labor law specialist.
The senior lecturers in the Department of Mercantile Law is Lindy Kutsia, who specializes in insolvency and corporate law. In addition to that, Lindy is responsible for the coordination of the outreach street law activities in communities, as well as the coordination of the mobile law clinic. Now, the senior lecturer, Stephen Newman, specializes in consumer protection and credit law, as well as payment instruments. Lecturers within the Department of Mercantile Law, Ms. Tina Aquano specializes in the law of contract with a specific focus on specific contracts of sale and lease. Gary Richards, who specializes in corporate law as well as jurisprudence. Tandukolo Katoy is a specialist in labor law, and Jacqueline Maholo specializes in the regulation of financial institutions and consumer protection.
On the left-hand side is Mr. Glenwyn Sefela, who is placed at our George campus. Mr. Sefela is an expert in environmental law. On the right-hand side is Ms. Daphne Nisi, who is an expert in labor law.
The departmental secretary in mercantile law is Evron Chase. Criminal and procedural law includes that part of the law that deals with rules relating to evidence or the production of evidence in a court of law. It also deals with criminal law, which tells you which type of behavior constitutes crimes in South Africa. And then further, it contains procedural law, but not limited to only criminal procedure, criminal as well as the civil procedure that must be complied with by legal practitioners when appearing in court. Now, the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law presents a number of programs. They present the Higher Certificate in Criminal Justice, the Diploma in Law Enforcement, Those two qualifications do not grant entry into the study of law. It is specifically for people who want to specialize in law enforcement, for example, the security industry or the police. Then in the LLB program, the Department of Criminal Procedural Law presents legal skills, criminal law, criminal procedure, law of evidence, advanced criminal law, legal practice, and forensic legal evidence. The department further presents a LLM coursework in criminal justice.
Now introducing the staff of the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law. The department has two professors. On the left-hand side, Professor Dian Erasmus, who specializes in criminal and criminal procedural law. And on the right-hand side, we have Prof. Henny van As, who specializes in fish force and local government law.
The senior lecturers in the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law is Dr. Leah Ndimurimo. Dr. Leah specializes in private international law as well as refugee rights law. There's also Dr. Esther Gambo, who specializes in criminal law and criminal procedure. The Department of Criminal and Procedural Law has a number of lecturers. Desiree David, who specializes in forensic medicine and medical law, as well as the law of evidence. Dr. Mark Velgemoot, who specializes in the law of civil procedure. He is also a specialist in clinical legal education.
The lecturers within the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law is Anthea Christoffels du Plessis, a specialist in criminal law, Alfonso Goliath, a specialist in criminal and procedural law, and Mahlubandile Ntontela, a specialist in criminal law.
The Secretary for the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law is Rochelle Redcliffe. Private law is that division of the law that regulates the relationship between persons, often referred to in legal terminology as legal subjects. It determines the different rights and duties that persons may have. These rights and duties find their origin, for example, in marriage, succession, ownership, contracts, and unlawful acts. The Department of Private Law is responsible for delivery of the modules, the law of persons, family law, the law of contract, the law of delict, the law of succession, as well as customary law. The professors in the Department of Private Law are Professor Elmarie Knutse, who specializes in African customary law and the law of succession, and Professor Andre Makaiba, who specializes in the law of delict and damages. Senior lecturers within the Department of Private Law, Dr. Glynis van der Walt, who specializes in child adoption law and family law, Dr. Rosanna Denson, who specializes in family law, specifically the law of marriage, with a specific and a keen interest in Islamic marriages. Lecturers within the Department of Private Law, Tanya Wagenaar, who is a specialist in immaterial property law that deals with things like trademarks and copyright and patents. Also a keen interest in environmental law, but is currently reading into specializing in law of the sea. Eugene Christoffels, an expert in the law of property. The Secretary for the Department of Private Law is Mrs. Ntumisa Sompondo.
Department of Public Law. The field of public law is concerned with the legal relationship between the state, the government and its people, and it explores how the state should best advance the needs and well-being of a constitutional democracy and its people. The Department of Public Law is a vibrant and tightly knit academic unit which offers numerous modules on the LLB program, including constitutional law, legal interpretation, introduction to law, human rights law, and environmental law, to name but a few. The members, staff members in the public law department are active in research, and they research in various fields, including but not limited to gender equality, the law of the sea, socioeconomic rights, hate speech, freedom of expression, and environmental law. Postgraduate research is a core function of this particular department, and the members supervise many postgraduate students on a variety of topics. The department is also currently developing an LLM coursework module in social justice, which we are hoping to introduce in the near future.
The professors in the Department of Public Law are Professor Johanna Botha, who is the head of department, and a specialist in human rights law, specifically focusing on hate speech, Professor Amanda Spies, who is an expert in human rights and constitutional law.
Lecturers within the Department of Public Law is on the left, Daniel Makosi. Daniel is an expert in administrative law, human rights law and litigation thereof, social justice, access to information, and privacy laws. On the right-hand side, we've got Lansina Makone, who is a constitutional law expert.
The Department of Public Law has a secretary only 3 days a week, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and that is Alta McClelland. In addition to the academic departments, the faculty also has a law clinic based on its Missionvale campus. The law clinic falls under the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law, and it specializes in the provision of legal services to indigent members of the communities of Nelson Mandela Bay. It also specializes in the provision of clinical legal education. In other words, this is where law students go and are taught how to practically provide services to people out in the community. The director of the law clinic is Miss Matilda Smith, who is responsible for overseeing the legal services to the indigent communities. Dr. Mark Welgemoot is a supervising attorney and also responsible for the practical training of LLB students, or what we call clinical legal education. A center housed within the Faculty of Law is that of the Center for Law in Action and the Fish Force Academy. The Center for Law in Action focuses on improving service delivery at various governmental levels and increasing access to justice for people in need. The Fish Force Academy addresses organized crime in the fisheries environment. The Academy establishes fisheries law enforcement as a new and emerging fisheries compliance model. And the Fish Force Academy aims to increase successful prosecution of the perpetrators of fisheries crimes. The Center for Law in Action is collaborating with international organizations such as Interpol and the United Nations Office on Drug Control. The director for the Center for Law in Action and the Fish Force Academy is Professor Henny van As. The Refugee Rights Center, which is located in Central, behind our Bird Street campus, is a center within the Faculty of Law, and the center offers refugees and asylum seekers free legal assistance. Linton Harmse is the director at the Refugee Rights Centre. The Labour and Social Security Law Unit is a unit within the Department of Mercantile Law. The unit specializes in offering high-quality training in the field of labour law. Their programs attract participants from across the country. The Labour and Social Security Law Unit has been accredited to offer the postgraduate diploma in labour law practice of the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, acronym for that CCMA. The unit is further accredited to offer the faculty and the Department of Mercantile's coursework masters in labour law. The director of the unit is Professor Adrian van der Walt. He serves as a part-time senior commissioner in the CCMA. Prof. van der Walt has previously served as the chairperson of the Employment Conditions Commission and currently serves on the National Minimum Wage Commission. Tandukolo Kotoi, the unit's deputy head, is also a part-time CCMA commissioner. The director of the Labour and Social Security Law Unit is Prof. Adrian van der Walt, and the deputy director is Tandukolo Kotoi. It is very important that any student studying law knows the staff in the Faculty Administration Office. The person in charge in the Faculty Administration Office is Mrs. Nikki Terblanche, who is ably assisted by Diaketsu Billy, who is responsible for all queries relating to undergrad students. So if you have an application for a change of degree or you have a special request, you approach Mrs. Billy, who will be able to provide you with all the answers to undergraduate queries. The faculty administration has two staff members that is responsible for postgraduate administration. They are Charlene Pieterse and Kolisa Mngwelo. Charlene Pieterse deals with applications to postgraduate studies, either master's or doctoral studies, either through research or coursework, but she only focuses on the Ocean Governance and Criminal Procedure coursework programs, while Kolisa Mngwelo is responsible for the administration of the postgraduate diploma in labour law and the coursework masters in labour law. The faculty is very fortunate to host a SACHI chair, more specifically the SACHI chair in Law of the Sea and Development in Africa. The South African Research Chairs Initiative, chair in the Faculty of Law, was established in 2013 and it has been renewed for a second 5-year cycle until the end of 2023. The research chair focuses on the following 3 areas: South Africa and the law of the sea, including the legal regime governing South African continental shelf and the exploitation of its resources; development in Africa and the law of the sea, including relevant indigenous law research at an international and comparative level. More specifically, it focuses on the east coast of Africa and the Indian Ocean, the west coast of Africa and the Atlantic Ocean, the Southern Ocean and Antarctica. The SACHI chair also focuses on the legal aspects of marine tourism. The head of the SACHI chair in Law of the Sea and Development in Africa is Prof. Patrick Franken. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the presentation of the introduction to the faculty, its departments and its staff members. I thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Kutia. My name is Tina Okwan, and I'll be introducing you to your first year modules and the first year lecturers. The modules that I will be introducing this evening will only be those offered in the LLB, LLB Extended, BA Law, and BCom Law programs. BA Law and BCom Law students will receive information on the BA and BCom modules from their respective faculties. And now, for our first year modules and the first year lecturers. The first module is that of legal skills, with module code JJSV 100 or JJSV 1X0 for the extended program. This is a year module, and it aims to equip students with the skills and competencies required for the study of law, and to prepare the students for entry into the legal practice, into a wide range of other careers which require the application of law, and for postgraduate studies in law. Your lecturer for this module is Mr. Mahlubandile Ndondela. There is no textbook that is prescribed for this module. Your next first year module is that of legal interpretation, with module codes JJUV 100 or JJUV 1X0 for the extended program. It is also a year module, and it aims to facilitate skills and competencies to apply the theories and principles of legal interpretation, and this is all within the framework of a constitutional state. Your lecturer for this module is Mr. Daniel Mokosi. The prescribed textbook is that of statutory interpretation, an introduction for students, and it is a 5th edition textbook. Your next first year module is that of Introduction to Law, with module code JLKV 100 or JLKV 1X0 for the extended program. It is a year module, and it is divided into 4 units. And these 4 units aim to provide students with a foundational knowledge of the developments of the concept of law, the history of our own South African law, pluralism, and the South African legal framework. Your lecturer for this module in the first semester, dealing with legal reasoning and introduction to jurisprudence and to the Constitution and constitutional principles, you will have Professor Amanda Spies. And lecturing you in the second semester, focusing on legal history, you will have Professor Almarie Knutzer. Focusing on legal diversity and pluralism, you will have as a lecturer Dr. Rosanna Denson. The prescribed textbooks for this module, you have firstly, South African Constitutional Law in Context, and secondly, the Beginner's Guide to Law Students, and it is a 5th edition textbook. Your next first year law module is that of Law of Persons, with module codes JLPV 101 or JLPV 1X1 for the extended program. It is a module that is presented in the first semester, and it aims to provide an overview of the most important legal principles in the law of persons in South African law, as well as how these principles are then interpreted and applied in court. Your lecturer for this module is Dr. Rosanna Denson. The prescribed textbook is that of Law of Persons and the Family. Please take note that this is a 3rd edition textbook, and the publisher, Pearson, has indicated that the 3rd edition textbook will be available from the 13th of February 2023. Your last first year module is that of Family Law, with module codes JLVV 102 or JLVV 1X2 for the extended program. It is a second semester module, and it aims to enable students to gain knowledge, skills, and competencies in order to understand family law. Once again, your lecturer for this module is Dr. Rosanna Denser. The prescribed textbook is the same textbook that is prescribed for the Law of Persons module, and once again, it is Law of Persons and the Family, and it is a 3rd edition textbook. And remember, this 3rd edition will only be available from the 13th of February 2023. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I am Professor Dion Erasmus, and I am the Program Coordinator for the Law Enforcement programs offered within the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law. I am going to introduce you now to your lecturers who will lecture you in both the higher certificate and the diploma in law enforcement. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so as I said, the law enforcement programs fall within the Department of Criminal and Procedural Law. These 2 qualifications, the higher certificate in criminal justice and the diploma in law enforcement, are specifically industry-focused qualifications which will give you access to work positions within the law enforcement sphere, like, for instance, the South African Police Force or private security firms. So, I want to introduce you now to team law enforcement, as I call them. These lecturers will lecture both in the higher certificate and in the diploma in law enforcement. These lecturers that I will introduce to you now will be your first year lecturers, whether you are enrolled for the higher certificate or the diploma in law enforcement. Let's start in the left-hand corner. There is Mr. Ntontela. He's one of our newly appointed staff members, and he joined us in November last year. Then we have Ms. Desiree David. She has been with the university for quite a number of years, and she will take you for modules within the higher certificate. Then you will see a picture of myself. As I say, I am the program coordinator of the law enforcement programs. I do, however, not teach in the first year of either the diploma or the higher certificate. Then we have Dr. Esther Gumbo. She teaches in both the higher certificate and the diploma. Then we have Mrs. Christoffels du Plessis, and she teaches in the first year of the diploma. Then in the second semester, you will be taught by Mr. Alfonso Goliath in the higher certificate. And finally, we have Mrs. Runel Erasmus. She is a contract lecturer for the first semester, and she will teach in the higher certificate and in the diploma. So these lecturers will present your various block sessions to you. As you are aware, the diploma in law enforcement, as well as the higher certificate, is presented in a block release fashion. So let us quickly then just look to give you an overview of the various modules as well as the block weeks. I'm not going to read out the dates because you will each be supplied with a roster which includes your block weeks, your lecturers, and the venues will also be communicated to you. So as you will see in the higher certificate, you will do 5 modules in the first semester, namely Introduction to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, the Principles of Criminal Liability, Introduction to Criminology, Law Enforcement by Peace Officers, and the Taking of Statements. In the second semester, you will do the conduct of a criminal trial, the introduction to criminal investigation, introduction to common law and statutory crimes, and then there are 2 electives of which you must choose one: enforcement of municipal health legislation and the enforcement of bylaw by traffic officials. So those are then the modules for the higher certificate. In the diploma, you will do in the first semester digital literacy, English studies for criminal justice A, an introduction to the South African law, and also the general principles of law enforcement. In the second semester, you will do enforcement of marine and coastal legislation, English studies for criminal justice B, enforcement of bylaws relating to the sea and coast, pre-trial procedures, and the taking of statements. Then, dear students, this is a very important part that I need to discuss with you now. In the law faculty, we have an LLB degree, which is offered. That is an undergraduate degree, which will, if you complete the degree, entitle you to enter the legal profession as an attorney or a prosecutor or an advocate. The higher certificate, very important, does not provide you entry into the LLB. So once you finish the higher certificate in criminal justice, that does not allow you automatic entrance into the LLB. When you finish the higher certificate, you can apply for entry into the LLB degree. However, you must then make sure that you meet the requirements for the LLB qualification, and the normal application criteria will apply. The diploma in law enforcement, students who complete the higher certificate at NMU and achieve an average of 60% for all their modules will be able to apply for the diploma in law enforcement, as well as students meeting the admission criteria. This program is, however, capped, and that means that there are a limited number of seats. So what happens at the beginning of next year, we will look at all the results of the students who completed the higher certificate, and those students with the highest average will fill up the seats. So you will only hear whether you are successful in applying for the diploma in law enforcement towards the end of January of 2024. Then, what is the advantage of doing the diploma in law enforcement? Well, if you apply for acceptance in the South African Police Service to undergo police training, if you do have NMU's diploma in law enforcement, you will do a shortened training period. Also, once again, the diploma in law enforcement does not provide you entry into the LLB. You can still apply for entry into the LLB after you complete your diploma, but you must still meet the criteria for the LLB qualification, which is a degree program and not a diploma program. The Department of Criminal and Procedural Law is at the moment busy registering an advanced diploma in law enforcement, which students can most probably from next year apply for once they have completed the diploma in law enforcement. So, ladies and gentlemen, shortly, that is the message I want to deliver to you. We, as your lecturers in Team Law Enforcement, are looking forward when lectures start and that we can start interacting with our students. I wish you a very successful study period, and I hope that you will enjoy the program. Thanks very much.
Good evening. My name is Daphne Mnisi, and before closing, I would like to share some important information with you. First year orientation starts officially on Monday, the 6th of February, and will be conducted online using the faculty Telegram channels that have been set up for all the major law programs. The links to these channels will be sent to the email address that the students provided when they applied, but can also be sent to you if you DM us on Facebook at Nelson Mandela University Faculty of Law, or send an email to deanoflaw@mandela.ac.za. We will be hosting a live orientation day on Friday, 17 February, for all first-year students. The details of this event will be shared with you on the Telegram channels closer to the time. Should students have any questions regarding admissions, switching programs, or registration, they are welcome to contact Mrs. Diegetso Billy on diegetso.billy@mandela.ac.za. Alternatively, students can send a message to the faculty's Facebook page for assistance. We have placed an explanatory video of how to register online for all our programs on the faculty's YouTube channel, located at Nelson Mandela University Faculty of Law. These guides contain step-by-step instructions on how to register and will make it easier for students, parents, and guardians to navigate the process. Lastly, we would like to invite all students, parents, and guardians to the Vice-Chancellor's welcoming ceremony, which will be held in the Indoor Sports Center on South Campus on Saturday, 4 February at 10 a.m. Those wishing to attend will need to book their seats by going to the link visible on your screen. Guests will also have the option of watching the ceremony online via the university's YouTube channel, located at Nelson Mandela University. Thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to welcoming you to our faculty. Stay safe and good night. Faculty of Law at Nelson Mandela University. Change the world.